Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Pro Football. I am your host, Michael Carlyle. We are finally to the playoffs, wild card weekend in the National Football League. We will break down all the games for you and take a look at each of the matchups. Let's start with some news and notes. Of course, with the end of the season comes the coaching carousel, and we've got a number of openings. First and foremost, let's not forget the Raiders' job technically open, although that's probably going to come down to just removing the interim tag. But in addition to the Raiders, the Bears are looking for a head coach. The Broncos are looking for a head coach. The Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Giants all looking for head coaches. Also, the Bears, Vikings, Giants all looking for general managers as well. Let's look at some of the candidates. And I think one of the things you're going to see here is a lot of the same names being bantied about from multiple teams. There are a lot of hot names out there. There are a couple of surprises, too. I think the Dolphins job, that opening up surprised a lot of people. Brian Flores is going to be in demand for one of these vacant jobs as well. So let's start with the Bears. Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier is one of their targets. Former Eagles head coach Doug Peterson is high on their list as well. He's already interviewed there. Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, certainly a candidate for the Bears, as well as Buccaneers defensive coordinator Todd Bowles and their offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich. Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, and of course former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores on that list. It'll be interesting to see what direction the Bears go in. It'll also be interesting to see what they do as far as their general manager. You would assume that hiring a general manager is first, and then the general manager takes care of hiring the head coach. You would assume that, right? It doesn't look like the Bears are necessarily set in going that route. So that could make an interesting dynamic as well if the committee that's put together to hire a new coach hires the coach and then hires a GM, how well the GM is in sync with the new head coach. That could set up problems down the road. So we'll have to see how it plays out for the Bears. Another team looking for a head coach, the Denver Broncos, and they've got some interesting candidates as well. Some of those same names, Nathaniel Hackett from the Packers, Dan Quinn from the Cowboys, Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator, also on their list. Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon on that list as well. Packers quarterback coach and passing game coordinator Luke Getsy on the wish list for the Broncos as well. Broncos are an interesting situation. They've got a really good defense there. You've got some young pieces on offense. You'd like to think with the right guy, maybe that one is not as much of a reclamation project as some of the other openings. Like, say the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are in the market for a head coach. Bill O'Brien looks like he is at the top of their list. You would think the Jaguars would have learned from the Urban Meyer thing. Hey, maybe let's not go the college route. Of course, O'Brien has been in the NFL, former Texans coach, but he's currently at Alabama. He's the offensive coordinator there. He's high on their list. Of course, their interim coach, Darrell Bevell, is on the list as well. Buccaneers offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, their defensive coordinator Todd Bowles as well. Kellen Moore's name pops up here again, as does Dan Quinn. Nathaniel Hackett, 3 openings we've talked about. Hackett on all 3 of those wish lists. Also, former NFL head coach Jim Caldwell on the list of names that are interesting to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Miami Dolphins, I'd like to say this might be the best opening. Just you look at how they finished the season. Now, yes, they had a rough start, but you also had the power struggle with Flores and the GM there. Flores obviously lost out and loses his job. You have to wonder exactly what the situation is there. How committed are they to Tua Tagovailoa as the quarterback long term? So while I'd like to tell you that the Dolphins might be the best opening, other than the Raiders, of course. But again, I think that the Raiders is an opening on a technicality only, at the moment. But as far as legit openings, I'd like to tell you it's the Dolphins, but I think there's some front office stuff there going on that could make that one a little less desirable. Among their wish list of coaches, Cardinals defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. Of course, he a former head coach in the league with the Broncos. Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, he is on their list as well. 49ers offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. Then you get some of the usual suspects, Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, Leslie Frazier, all drawing interest from the Dolphins. The Vikings coaching search, that'll be interesting as well. Doug Peterson, really the only name that's come out on their wish list. And as far as the Giants, they look like they're doing this the right way, actually. They want to hire a GM first and then let the GM hire the coach. So it'll be interesting to see what they wind up doing there. Of course, the Bears looking for a GM, like we had talked about. The Vikings looking for a GM as well, along with the Giants. So it's very interesting what's going on with the coaching searches. And, look, the NFL has made it easier to interview assistants who are in the playoffs, but you're also seeing a lot of these guys wanting to wait until after the playoffs are done. Now, that's not always the case, of course, with the Titans and with the Packers, who have a bye this week. That opens things up a little bit more for some of their assistants. But by and large, guys who are still in the playoffs, you're probably not going to see them interview until after their teams are done. So, a couple of these, maybe we get somewhat quick hires, but I think some of these probably will play out for a while. So that'll be very interesting to keep an eye on. All right, wild card weekend in the NFL, and this should be a whole lot of fun. We've got some really interesting matchups. It starts on Saturday, and we'll start in Cincinnati. This will be the first game on Saturday. It's a 4:30 Eastern time kickoff. It'll be on NBC. The Raiders, 6-point underdogs on the road at the Bengals. We know how the Raiders got here. They beat the Chargers on Sunday night. Bengals coming off a loss, but they rested most of their top players. I wouldn't read too much in the Bengals coming in the playoffs off a loss. There was no Joe Burrow. That they rested a lot of guys. Cincinnati has got an explosive offense, and the Raiders are going to have to try to counter that with their pass rush. How well can the Bengals protect Joe Burrow? That's going to be a key here. Keep in mind, this is Burrow's first playoff start. As good as he has looked, will there be nerves come game time on Saturday? Bengals, though, they can lean on running back Joe Mixon, especially if Burrow's a little shaky early. Remember, Mixon had 30 carries, 123 yards, and a pair of scores in the regular season matchup between these two teams. But the Raiders, they've tightened up their run defense since then. They've also won 4 straight one-score games. Cincinnati, oh, by the way, they've lost their last 7 playoff games. That doesn't really matter here. I think they do just enough. I think the Bengals will get their first playoff win since the 1990 season. I do like Cincinnati in this one. The other game on Saturday, it's in Buffalo, and it's going to be a cold one. The Bills are 4-point favorites against the Patriots. Third game this season between these two teams. Each team won on the road. New England won the first meeting in a windstorm in early December. The Bills dominated the Patriots late in December. Josh Allen threw for 314 yards and 3 scores in that second matchup between these two teams. You've got the intrigue with Bill Belichick leading another New England playoff run. You've got rookie Mac Jones making his first playoff start. It's a battle of the top 2 scoring defenses in the National Football League. Like I said, it's going to be cold. May wind up being one of the coldest games ever in Buffalo. There's also snow in the forecast. So you would think this would kind of lend itself to being a little more like the first matchup between these two teams than the second. And that makes it all the more tempting to pick New England here, right? Look, even if you don't like the Patriots, even if you don't like Belichick, you're kind of fascinated, I think, by the storyline of him leading a non-Tom Brady Patriots team into the playoffs. And it's easy to get sucked up in all that. The weather, it's going to be like the first one. We're not looking to have wind for this one, though. So it'll be cold. It may be snowy, but I think both these teams will be able to throw the ball. Maybe it does come down to the run game. We'll have to see here. Buffalo, they've got more weapons, just flat out. I think Josh Allen, he can have success throwing the football. I look for the Bills to try to take away the run from the Patriots and dare them to beat them with Mac Jones. And I don't think that New England will be able to do that. I do like the Buffalo Bills to advance in this one. 3 games on Sunday. It'll start in Tampa Bay. This game will be on Fox. It is the 1:00 Eastern time game. The Buccaneers, 8.5-point favorites as they host the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, the Bucs beat the Eagles 28-22 on a Thursday night back in Week 6. Eagles, though, they were struggling at the time, especially with their run game. That aspect of the Eagles' offense has improved dramatically, so much so that they led the league in rushing. That's going to be a key here, but the Bucs are good against the run. Now, Tampa did give up 109 yards rushing per game in their last 3 games, but that's well over their season average of 92.5 yards per game. Eagles didn't sack Tom Brady in the last meeting. they're going to have to do better in that area and get some pressure on him. Remember, Brady, without two of his top passing targets, Chris Godwin, who's done for the year with injury, Antonio Brown, who imploded and has been released. So we'll have to see how that affects Brady and the Patriots, the Buccaneers offense. And of course, Mike Evans got banged up in the regular season finale. Look, Brady does have Gronk, though. I think this game's going to be a little closer. I think the Eagles are going to try to eat a lot of clock with their run game and keep the ball out of Tampa's offense, out of their hands as much as possible. In the end, though, I do like Tampa Bay to get the win here, but it'll probably be a little closer than some are expecting. But I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. The Dallas Cowboys are at home. They are 3-point favorites against the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, they're the team nobody wanted to see in the playoffs. They're actually built to make a run. They're tough. They can run the ball. We saw how the Broncos exploited their run game against the Cowboys a few weeks back. The teams that can run have been a bit of an issue for the Cowboys. Cowboys have the top statistical offense in the NFL. Dak Prescott's got plenty of playmakers to work with. That defense with Micah Parsons has been dominant all season. San Francisco, though, they match up well here. I mentioned the run game. Jimmy Garoppolo looked really good late in the season after coming back from his injury, and we saw what he did leading this team back against the Rams last week to get into the playoffs. San Francisco fairly healthy here, and like I said, they're a team nobody really wants to face, especially when they're healthy, because between the very efficient offense, you've got the Nick Bosa-led defense that will go out and try to cause a few turnovers. I think the Niners are going to give the Cowboys a lot of fits here. Oh, by the way, 5 of the last 6 times the Cowboys and 49ers have met in the postseason, the winner went on to win the Super Bowl. 49ers are going to use their run game and their pass rush. They'll take a few explosive shots down the field with Garoppolo. I think the Niners pull off the upset here. I like San Francisco to beat the Cowboys and advance. The third game on Sunday, your Sunday night game, it is in Kansas City, and the Chiefs, they are huge favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 12.5-point favorites, as a matter of fact. Steelers rally to get into the postseason. They'll be playing with nothing to lose behind Ben Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger 13-9 in his career in the postseason. Remember back in Week 16, Pittsburgh got blown out 36-10 by the Chiefs. Steelers, they are healthier now. They've got Mike Tomlin, who's plenty of playoff experience there. He knows how to win in the playoffs. Chiefs defense, they've had some issues the past couple of weeks. That could be a bit of a problem. Steelers can't stop the run. That could be a bit of a problem, but the Chiefs don't run it that much. And when they do, it actually takes away from the strength of their team, which is Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. So I don't know that the Steelers' inability to stop the run is going to come into play too much here. This one will probably be closer than the first matchup. I'm not expecting another 36-10 drubbing. I think Ben Roethlisberger plays with some emotion in what's most likely going to be his final game. Steelers probably hang around for a while, but I do believe the Chiefs will win this one, and they will advance. We'll wrap up the wild card weekend in the National Football League on Monday. That's right, Monday night, the Arizona Cardinals, 4-point underdogs at the LA Rams. That is an 8:15 Eastern time kickoff on ABC and ESPN. Another matchup where it's the third meeting between the two teams this season. Both these teams won on the road as well. Cardinals won the first meeting. Rams won the second one in December. Cardinals went 1-4 in their last 4 games, and they allowed 30 points per game in those 4 losses. Rams, though, they haven't exactly been playing well either. They did win the NFC West. This is Matthew Stafford's chance to make a Super Bowl run. That should scare you, Rams fans. Rams have also won 9 of the last 10 meetings against the Cardinals. This is going to be a close one. Look for both these defenses to play well. Both offenses have been struggling. This may come back to bite me, but before the season started, I told you guys, watch out for the Cardinals. And for the first half of the season, I looked like a genius, right? Maybe not, but it looked like I was onto something. The Cardinals, between injuries and teams catching up to them, they've kind of been exposed, and they certainly struggled the last half of the season. I do like Arizona in this one. I think the Cardinals get the win. I think they advance. Never trust Matthew Stafford, and maybe Stafford proves me wrong here, but you can take the boy out of the Detroit